Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at a really fascinating historical source, a 1942 yearbook
Oh, wow.
from Acalanes High School in California. And I think this one's going to be, really interesting because it gives us this window into student life during World War II.
Yeah, it's really a time capsule, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like everything from the fashion to how the teenagers were contributing to the war effort. Did you know, for example, that they were building model airplanes for national defense?
I did not.
Yeah, or that the school itself, with its super modern design, was the envy of institutions all across the U.S.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a really fun one to dive into.
Yeah, and what's fascinating to me is that this yearbook, the Acklin, it comes from a very pivotal year in the war.
Oh, yeah.
1942 was a time of huge uncertainty and anxiety.
Mm.
Nobody really knew how the war was going to turn out.
Right. So how did all this global turmoil impact the lives of these students at Acalanes?
Well, their experiences are woven into the very fabric of this yearbook. Right from the forward, you see the school boasting about its modern architecture. It's kind of interesting. The yearbook is even dedicated to the Board of Trustees for choosing this cutting-edge design.
Yeah, they call it the envy of other institutions throughout the United States.
Wow.
Why do you think this emphasis on modernity was so important to them, especially during a time of war?
It speaks to, a deep desire for progress and optimism, right?
Hmm.
In the face of conflict and uncertainty, this focus on architectural innovation might have represented a beacon of hope for the future.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's as if they were saying, look, even amidst war, we're still moving forward. We're still embracing progress. We're still building a better tomorrow.
That's a really good point. It's easy to forget that even during wartime, life and especially education continues.
Absolutely.
Speaking of education, let's look through some more pages. What can you tell us about the academic climate at Acalanes in 1942?
Well, the yearbook highlights a strong emphasis on academics, even amidst the distractions of war.
Yeah.
For instance, it mentions the California Scholarship Federation, or CSF,
Uh-huh.
which required students to maintain, really high grades for membership.
So even with the World War raging, these students were still like laser focused on academic excellence.
Absolutely.
Were there any other organizations that reflected this commitment to scholarship?
Yeah, the yearbook also mentions Acalanes,
Uh-huh.
another organization that recognized students with high academic achievements.
Okay.
These groups, they really underscore the value placed on education, suggesting that academic achievement was a source of pride and maybe even a sense of normalcy in a world that had really been turned upside down.
It's amazing to see how these students balance their studies with the realities of war. I'm curious about what life was like outside the classroom, though. Did the war completely overshadow extracurricular activities, or did students find ways to engage in, clubs and hobbies?
Well, you see a fascinating blend of traditional activities
Mm-hmm.
and those directly tied to the war effort.
Oh, okay.
There's the orchestra, the drama club, athletics, those kind of like staples of high school life.
Yeah.
But then you also have clubs like the aviation club, where students build model airplanes for national defense,
Wow.
and the first aid class, which emphasized preparedness for wartime emergencies.
The aviation club, wow. That's a hands-on approach to learning you don't see every day, especially back then.
Yeah.
It really shows how deeply the war effort permeated, like, even high school life.
Yeah. Imagine these teenagers maybe grappling with anxieties about the draft or loved ones overseas, and then they're channeling their energy and skills into building these model airplanes.
Yeah, it must have given them, like, a sense of purpose, like they were contributing to the national cause.
Exactly.
Yeah. It really makes you think about the weight those students must felt on their shoulders. Building model airplanes wasn't just a hobby, it was a tangible way to support their country during a time of need. And the first aid class, that's another great example of how wartime realities kind of shaped their experiences.
Yeah, learning first aid wasn't just a practical skill. It was a way to prepare for the potential consequences of war. It must have been a grim reality that loomed large in their young lives.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable, like, how these students managed to balance, these serious responsibilities with the joys of high school.
Right.
The yearbook also mentions dances, sports, even a canceled stamp drive.
A canceled stamp drive. Now that's interesting. What do you think that might have been for?
Well, it certainly makes you curious, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Perhaps they were collecting canceled stamps for the die which could have been used for some war-related thing.
Oh, that's possible.
Dye shortages were, common during wartime,
Right.
and people found ways to contribute. Or maybe the stamp drive was intended to boost morale or
Yeah.
support war bonds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good reminder that even small actions, seemingly insignificant actions, could take on a whole new meaning during wartime.
It'd be fascinating to dig a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
It shows how just one little detail in a yearbook can open up all these historical questions.
It really does.
Speaking of details, there are some individual student anecdotes that really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah.
One caption mentions students planting trees as a lasting gift to the school.
Yeah, that's a great image. Just imagine these students, during a world war, taking time to plant trees,
Yeah,
to invest in a future they might not even see.
right.
It really speaks to their hope, their resilience, their belief in something bigger than themselves.
It's a powerful reminder that even in really hard times, people find ways to look ahead, to
Yeah.
plant seeds of hope for the future.
Absolutely.
And amidst those kind of poignant moments, there are also glimpses of humor and teenage whimsy.
Yeah, like, wow.
One quote just says, "Look at the bars."
Look at the bars. What does that even mean?
Right. It makes you wonder what those bars represent. Were they literal bars on a window,
Yeah.
maybe symbolizing wartime restrictions, a longing for freedom?
Yeah.
Or were they metaphorical bars representing the challenges they faced?
Oh, right. It's like a little puzzle from the past,
Yeah.
inviting us to imagine the story behind it.
It highlights the power of these primary sources to really spark our imagination.
It does.
And connect us to the lives of the people who came before us.
Totally.
And then there's this one comment about someone having beautiful teeth.
Okay.
It's such a random little detail, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
But it gives us a glimpse into the social norms and values of the time.
Oh, interesting.
Were good teeth seen as a sign of health and vitality,
Uh-huh.
particularly important maybe during wartime?
Right.
Or was it just a playful compliment between classmates?
Yeah, exactly. It reminds us that history isn't just about the huge events. It's about the small, everyday lives and interactions of people.
Yeah. And it's those everyday moments captured in a yearbook that really bring history to life. Speaking of everyday life, what about the role of the community in supporting Acalanes during the war?
Well, the yearbook has a whole section dedicated to sponsors.
Yeah.
Local businesses that provided financial support for the publication.
Mm-hmm.
You see grocery stores, hardware shops, pharmacies, just a whole cross-section of the community helping out.
It really emphasizes the idea that education was a shared responsibility, a collective effort to support the next generation, especially in tough times.
Absolutely.
That's such a big difference from how we see schools struggling for funding now.
It is.
It makes you appreciate that sense of community and shared purpose.
It does. This support from local businesses really speaks volumes about how much they valued education
Yeah.
and how much they believed in the students' potential.
It's a reminder that even during wartime, when, resources were really scarce, communities came together to support their schools.
Yeah, they did.
This yearbook's really painting a vivid picture of life at Acalanes in 1942. We've talked about academics, wartime activities, community support, and even little glimpses of individual personalities.
Yeah.
But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet: student government.
Oh, right. The student body and the student council.
Yeah.
Those are the voices of the students
Yeah.
responsible for shaping the school's activities and
Yeah.
policies. I wonder how their role was different because of the war.
That's a great question. Did they have to face any unique challenges
Yeah.
or make decisions that had bigger implications?
Right. Imagine the responsibility they must have felt,
Right.
representing their classmates during such a crazy time.
It makes you think about how those leadership roles might have shaped their views on civic engagement and responsibility,
Yeah.
not just in school, but in the wider world as well.
Maybe some of them went on to have careers in public service.
Right.
Or became really active in their communities, inspired by, what they learned at Acalanes.
It's fascinating to think about the ripple effects of, being involved in student government
It is.
and how it might have shaped the course of their lives.
And that kind of brings us back to this question we've been, thinking about throughout our deep dive.
Yeah.
What happened to these students after graduation?
Yeah.
What paths did they choose?
Right.
How did their time at Acalanes during such, an important time shape their lives.
The yearbook doesn't tell us what happened to them, but it does give us some clues.
Yeah, it does.
We see their faces, we read their quotes, we get a sense of their personalities, their hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
It makes you imagine them going on to become pilots, doctors, engineers, teachers, artists, all drawing on those skills and values they learned at Acalanes.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that even just 1 year in high school can have a huge impact on someone's life.
Absolutely.
And it makes you wonder about the legacy of this yearbook.
Yeah.
And the stories it tells. Each student in this book had a whole life,
Right.
a life beyond these photographs, a life that unfolded, amidst war and societal change.
This yearbook is more than just a bunch of memories. It's a window into a specific moment in time.
Yeah.
It gives us valuable insights into the way people lived, their values, the human spirit.
It does.
And it reminds us that history is not just about, dates and battles. It's about the lives of people
Yeah.
and the choices they made.
Exactly. And sometimes even the smallest, most ordinary details can tell us huge things about the past.
You're so right. Remember that photo of the 4 students on horseback with the caption, "4 on a horse is more fun"?
Oh, yeah. That one was great. Such a charming, lighthearted picture.
I know.
Especially, given that there's a war going on,
Right.
it's a reminder that even during global conflict, life goes on.
Yeah.
Teenagers still find ways to have fun, to connect with each other, to have those moments of joy.
And that photo, with that simple little caption, says a lot about their resilience.
It does.
Their ability to find happiness even when things are really rough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a real testament to the strength of the human spirit, isn't it?
It is.
Even in the middle of a world war, these students, they found ways to experience joy and friendship and just those typical high school moments.
Right.
It speaks to their resilience and their ability to deal with difficult circumstances without losing sight of those simple pleasures.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another really interesting aspect of the yearbook, the fashion.
Oh, yeah.
The hairstyles, the clothes, even the accessories. They give us a glimpse into the trends of 1942
Yeah.
and how wartime practicality might have influenced those trends.
Yeah, you're right. I was looking at the girls' hairstyles and the boys' suits, and there's this like distinct sense of simplicity
Hmm.
and functionality, a real departure from like maybe the more extravagant styles of earlier times.
Exactly. You see lots of tailored dresses for the girls, practical skirts and blouses. And for the boys, mostly suits or sweaters and slacks. It reflects, I think, the wartime ethos of conservation,
Right.
making do with less.
But even with those limitations, you can still see hints of personality, right?
Right.
Like they weren't just conforming to wartime austerity. They were finding ways to make it their own, express their personality through their clothes.
That's a great point. It speaks to their adaptability and creativity. I mean, they were living in a world that was just in chaos, facing shortages, restrictions, and yet they still found ways to maintain a sense of self
Hmm.
and style.
It makes you wonder about the stories behind those choices, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Who were like the trendsetters? Who were like the rebels? Who were the quieter kids who found subtle ways to express themselves through their clothes?
Those questions are what make history so fascinating. It's not just about the big events. It's about the people
Yeah.
and the choices they made, whether big or small. And sometimes just a simple yearbook can offer us a really powerful connection to those lives.
This deep dive into the 1942 Acalane it's been amazing. We've uncovered so many fascinating details about student life during the war, from the ways they contributed to the war effort to the ways they managed to maintain some sense of normalcy amidst such extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
What are some of the big takeaways for you?
I think for me, it's a reminder that history it's everywhere. It's in our schools, our communities, our families,
Right.
and it's waiting to be explored, to be questioned, to be brought to life through things like this yearbook.
It's also a reminder that even when times are really tough, the human spirit, it always finds a way to shine through. These students, they faced a world at war, but they still found joy in their friendships. They pursued their passions and they contributed to their community.
Yeah. Their story is a real testament to the power of resilience and adaptability and hope.
Yeah.
Qualities that that are just as important today as they were back then.
I completely agree. As we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone listening with one final thought. What stories are hidden in your own family history?
Yeah.
What yearbooks, letters, photographs, maybe even objects might hold clues to the lives of your ancestors?
Take some time to explore those hidden treasures. You
Yeah.
might be surprised at what you find and the connections you make to the past.
Yeah, who knows? You might even be inspired by the strength and ingenuity of the people who came before you. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the past. Until next time, keep exploring.